Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we discuss day-to-day problems people face in their lives. Let's start with the video. You know how there's always that one person in every single family that's weird enough for people to think he would be capable of ruining somebody's wedding and the most important and valuable memory of somebody's life? The only difference between every single family and my in-laws is the fact that they actually have a son who has done this, not once but twice. How impressive is that? My brother-in-law is the kind of guy that's really obviously envious to a point where you think to yourself, how is this person so not scared of being considered a bad person that you start to question your very own sanity for thinking that in the first place? He's really smug and arrogant and always walks around criticizing and judging other people as if he was born incapable of being mistaken or misjudging or ever doing anything wrong in his entire life. And you know what the worst part about his collection of traits that actually disgusts me is? It's the fact that he is genuinely a smart person. He's the oldest of 5, and some might say, aka my husband, that he is absolutely the parents' favorite and the child that they would probably cover up murder for. And stories go around that my parents-in-law were actually concerned about him growing up to become a psychopath when he was a child because he was so into doing sadistic and questionable crap and causing harm to other kids his age and even offending and hurting adults that they jokingly said they considered enrolling him into a psychiatric hospital. But I know for sure that they were not joking about that, or they actually did consider it at some point or the other. I think all of this should be more than enough to introduce you into the nature of my brother-in-law, and should at least somewhat explain why I would rather not get married than to have him over at my wedding. He has literally ruined 2 of his younger siblings' weddings. His sister's wedding was ruined first, and then came his brother, who was ruined in a way quite similar to the first one. He offered to help out the sister in preparation for her wedding, as he really wanted to be involved in preparing to attend since she had no reason to believe anything other than that. Her and her husband assigned him with doing a few tasks here or there that he successfully proved himself to be competent in fulfilling. Towards the end, and as things started getting a little bit hectic, there was a problem with the venue that they had initially wanted to have the wedding at. So they decided on talking to the brother and asking him to call his friend who knows somebody who's a wedding planner and therefore probably could hook them up with venues that would be available and ready to go in short periods of time, even if it was slightly more expensive. They assigned him by calling the venue and booking it for the due date, considering that he had been the person that found the friend and the venue and kind of earned the honor of doing so. And he told them that he had actually had things sorted in place and didn't even tell them that things went wrong until the day that they went to the venue to start planning things out and seeing how everything will go the following day, aka the wedding day. They didn't realize that the venue wasn't actually for them until the manager came out and told them that they needed to leave because there was another couple coming in to set it up and prepare for their wedding, which was the one that was actually booked on paper. They literally didn't realize that he hadn't booked the venue for them until the day of the preparation for the wedding, and the only thing they could do to fix the problem that this little shit had created was to postpone everything and plan for an entirely new wedding because the old one was so racially ruined by their very own brother. They had to reorder everything and send out new invitation letters and find other readily available musical bands that would be free around the following couple of weeks because the wedding would actually take place this time since the brother-in-law wouldn't be responsible for it, which seems to be a pattern because it wouldn't be the last time he would feel so entitled and responsible, not for helping out but for ruining somebody's wedding. As for the second brother's wedding, this brother is his twin and consequently his best man because they were actually really close and best friends. And I hope it don't come to your surprise when I tell you that he also successfully ruined his wedding by losing the wedding ring 2 days before the ceremonies. I didn't have the guts to tell anyone about it until the last minute when he was required to give it to the groom. They told him that he didn't have it, and although that's not necessarily considered as ruining the wedding, as someone that is really into weddings and would literally kill him if anything goes wrong with mine, I for one would safely say that a wedding ring being lost in the exact moment that it is needed is considered a wedding being ruined, and do with that as you will. I'm not going to be cruel and say that he did everything on purpose. But this man is got to be responsible for something in the annulment of these two weddings that genuinely belong to his blood-related siblings. He's no child, and he should be held corporate for the things that he did, and that's not to blame on anyone but him, and I don't understand why my in-laws are treating him as if he hadn't left the fountain open or forgot a school bag at home, because these are people's weddings and probably the most important memories of their lives. Ever since my fiancé and I announced our engagement and told everyone when the wedding date is going to be, I noticed that my brother-in-law has been insinuating that he wanted to partake in perpetrating for the wedding. He even went to the extent of asking my fiancé to let him get involved with the wedding planner that we had hired and help him out to, I guess, compensate for the F-ups that he had committed in the past. I'm absolutely not letting this douchebag that is my brother-in-law ruin my wedding just because other people can't seem to handle hurting his feelings a little bit or telling him the truth that he needs to hear. I told my husband that I don't want him anywhere near the process of prepping for my wedding, and I would very much like for him to be uninvited from it altogether, because even if the other 2 times that he successfully ruined his siblings' weddings were accidental, I don't want mine to be the 3rd, and I'm willing to reject whoever it might take to ensure that. I'm absolutely not having any of this crap, no matter how much other people seem to be fond of catering to this grown-ass man's childish behavior. My husband told me that he's probably offering to help out because he feels guilty and he wants to make up for what he did in the past, and he should be granted the opportunity to do that, but I'm having none of it, and I'm willing to tell my parents-in-law that I'm uninviting their son because I don't want my wedding to be ruined, and my husband said that if that's what I wanted to do, then I should go forward because he just didn't want to get involved with jeopardizing his relationship with his parents or his siblings. I actually talked to my parents tonight and told them that I wanted to uninvite him considering he has a serious record of effing up weddings, and they got butthurt and offended that I was willing to do that and that I had the guts to ask them for something like this, even though I wasn't asking but rather telling. And they ended up going to the rest of their family members and snitching on me, and they ganged up on me on this passing Christmas to try and get me to change my mind and have him over, which I'm not having any of because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm willing to do whatever and not let my marriage get ruined by some man-child because other people's feelings are going to be hurt about it. Not the a-hole. I don't think I would care about what other family members say if this man has such a serious history of ruining weddings. I wouldn't want him anywhere near mine, and if he's presenting himself to still be a threat by doing the same thing he was doing to the previous ones, and there was absolutely no way in hell that I would do anything other than what you did. Not the a-hole. I don't understand why everyone is acting like they wouldn't actually react in the same way. I think the reason they are being so irrational is because they have detached themselves from the incident and they feel like they're being good people by giving this man a second chance when they shouldn't, because like you said, he's not a child and his actions shouldn't be just excused because they think the world is made up of candy and flowers and people only do bad things accidentally and deserve a countless number of second chances. Not the a-hole. I love how your husband was like, yeah, I don't give a crap. You can invite or uninvite anyone. Handle the crap yourself and do whatever the hell you want because I'm only here for the snacks and dessert. Just kidding. Your in-laws are clearly crappy people and siding with him, even though it's obviously the right thing to do. Probably speaks more about them than it does about neither you nor your brother-in-law. Prioritize yourself and make sure that the best day of your life, it's just that, and don't give a crap about what anyone might think of you, because they're not going to be the focal point that you're going to remember afterwards, but rather the quality of your wedding and to what extent you can enjoy it well. And since the previous experiences of the other siblings can't be described as good, there shouldn't be any reason for you to feel hesitation about excluding your brother-in-law and taking away his opportunity to ruin your experience. Next story. My 37 male husband, 49 male, has 2 kids, Tim 29 male and Jesse 25 male. Tim is the result of his mother getting hubby drunk at a high school graduation party after years of crushing on him. They never dated, no relationship. She admits this, and hubby only interacted with her to take care of Tim. Fast forward 4 years, she drops Tim off for his weekend and infant Jesse and never picks them up. Long and short of it, my husband got sole custody of Tim and she agreed to him adopting Jesse. She stayed out of their lives until Tim was 17 and she cleaned up her life. Awesome. Jesse wants nothing to do with her, but according to hubby, Tim has lived with her ever since they reunited. Hubby and I live on his family farm, us in one house, his parents in another on the property. Every time Tim comes to visit, he brings his mom with him, and it's usually a multi-day visit. First time I met her, she made a lot of out-of-place comments like, "Dear husband, better not try to date me while I'm here." Told Tim I was exactly his age. Few comments about me being a stay-at-home husband. Her dog begs at the table and steals food off plate, and everyone is supposed to just put up with it. My hubby basically ignores her and focuses on his son, as do his parents. Mother-in-law has said she basically tolerates her presence so she can see her grandson drama-free, and I get that. Here's where I might be the a-hole. Obviously, I have no say over what happens in in-laws' house, and that's fine. But these last few visits with her have just exhausted me mentally and emotionally. Tim is not disabled in any way, nor is his mom. She's not close with any of the family, so there's no concrete reason for her to tag along so much. Tim will come to our place to hang out and play games, and his mom always follows. They're currently visiting, and last night Tim wanted to come over and play, and his mom said she was coming too. I said no. Tim asked why not, and I told him that I don't want his mom in my house anymore. She always says inappropriate things no matter how many times hubby tells her to respect me, and he's an adult. His mother doesn't need to come chaperone, and frankly, she's not a major component of my husband's life that I would need to placate her. Tim called my husband at work to tell him what I said, and hubby agreed with me. Now Tim's mom's saying I'm an a-hole and interfering in their family. If Tim were disabled or a young child, I'd understand, but we're all adults. Am I the a-hole? They aren't a family, though. He'll abandon a child that wasn't his all along with their actual child. She's lucky her husband even speaks to her. Tim needs to accept the family he wanted as a child will never exist. It's impossible for several reasons. I'm gonna assume that Tim was never told the circumstances of his conception, or he's really out of touch with thinking somehow that assault is water under the bridge. If it is the first, it might be time for some hard truth. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but everyone else is, especially your husband. His parents are for allowing her on the property at all. He's an adult and can come alone or not at all. Your husband for allowing her in your house at all. Your husband is telling her not to say things but not following through. He needs to be able to look at his son in the face and tell him that she may be his birth mother, but she abandoned him and his brother, and she is not welcome. He can spend time with her at their house, but not yours. And if he insists on bringing her over, he may as well stay home. Your husband obviously doesn't care for you as much as you seem to think. Allowing both his son and his ex-wife to treat you so badly without repercussions is wrong. Tim does not get to be an aid to everyone else because his mother abandoned him. Next story. So just as a preface, my wife is on my side 100%. The issue is with her friend and her friend group. My wife's best friend lives about 19 hours away via car and came to stay with us for a month because they haven't seen each other since 2019. When she arrived, my wife wasn't home, so it was just her and I. I directed her towards the bedrooms and she put all her stuff in our room instead of our guest room. And when I asked, she said, I assumed we'd be sleeping in the same room and you would be sleeping in the guest room. I told her I wasn't leaving my room with my wife to the guest room. She told me she couldn't sleep alone, and my wife knew that, so she thought it wasn't a big deal. I told her to move her stuff to the guest room, and I went back to the office. My wife called me in about 10 minutes crying because from what I gathered, friend texted their group chat berating me and talking about how much of an a-hole I was and how she was really crappy for marrying me, just being all around rude to my wife, even escalating it to personal jabs at my wife, saying it was a good thing she was infertile and we didn't have any kids, really mean things like that. I went to find her. She was still in our room playing on her phone in our bed. I grabbed her stuff and brought it to the front door and told her to get out. She begged me to let her stay the night because she just drove 15 hours and I told her the things she said to my wife weren't all right and I wouldn't have her in my home. Where I feel like the a-hole is, I didn't care where she went. She ended up having to stay at the only hotel with availability about 2 hours away and her car got broken into. Am I the a-hole for kicking her out? Why in the world would she think it was inappropriate to kick you out of your bed in your own home? Then, when a grown woman who for some reason can't sleep in a bed alone was told no, she began berating your wife in a group chat, not just saying how upset she was, but resorting to bringing up infertility. Why is your wife friends with this person? Not the a-hole, but that is one entitled lady. What the F? Like seriously, what the F? Can't believe she told you to go to the guest room in your own damn house. It would be one thing if your wife discussed it with you first and came to an agreement, but she seriously tried to kick you out and then proceeded to lay in your bed on her phone, rage texting your wife. This is straight out of a TV show. You were right to kick her out and make her go to a hotel. Yeah, it sucks her car got broken into, but she could have avoided that by going to the guest room because she is a guest. Good for you for standing your ground.